evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to your favorite show, the one show that lights up your Wednesday night. The show that is not afraid to talk about all the things that nobody wants to talk about. Now tonight, we are going to be talking about love children. What are love children, for those of you who don't know? They're those children that happen out of wedlock. Now tonight's question is, should a man declare them? Or are they better off tucked away? Now, not because he's our resident expert, but here at the Hilton Garden Inn tonight, we have Colin, who's been away for some time, but we're glad to have him back. He's looking all sharp and polished. Great stuff, Colin.
You know, Peter,
And you could have come on a better topic.
it's always this disrespect that you have for me that makes this show so exciting, because I'm going to take you down, brother.
Relax, breathe in, breathe out. But you're looking good. You've trimmed. I can see Nairobi's treating you well.
I mean, people there eat like slaves, my friend.
And work like
they
slaves.
eat one starch, they eat one sauce. Like, I was explaining to someone the other day that you get so used to this. You come from here where you have matoke and, you know, you have some nuts, you have some sweet potatoes, yams, rice, pasta. You go there and everyone, even the rich people, they just serve one starch and one sauce. So
And
if you come from a house where you have some peas and some vegetables and you have some meat and some chicken, you're just out there, you're like Israelites in the desert.
You're
take
bound
us
to
back
suffer.
to Egypt. So yes, but speaking about it, that's what ends up happening with love children. Because you get tired of eating that one sauce.
And then you go look for other sauce.
I mean, I was talking with Banji earlier. You end up in a space where you say, you know what, it would be nice to have some vegetables with this food.
But I'll tell you what.
Avocado is a nutritious food.
But based on that, Colin, and I'd like we just want your opinion. Can we then say that love children are not a product, an intentional product? A man doesn't go out there saying, I'm going to have a child with this woman. It just happens by accident.
Can we say that? Do you think that's a wise thing to say? I don't know. I think that's a risky thing to say, because it also implies that men don't have self-control and they're just out there failing to pull out. So really, you're hurting us more than you're helping us.
No.
Yes, because if you say the guy doesn't go out to get these children, but so what he does, he goes out, he can't pull out, he can't use protection, and then he just pours, then all of a sudden there are children.
No, I mean, it's not like that.
I think that it is important to explore the context within which some of these situations occur. Sometimes, and in some situations, the children occur long before the marriage happened. In some situations. Some of you out here, you're married to women, they had children at 16. You don't know. By the time you phoned at 25, you phoned, she was tight. You're like, you know what? We're inside. Until the day you see the child is as old as your beard.
your beard. You saw where he pointed.
No, but it happens. But and that's for girls and for men. So there's the reality around that. But I think what's perhaps even more grating is, of course, the children who come in the course of the union, because then it gets really rough. It gets very hairy. Because those things.
And again, he looks at your beard.
No, he looked at Banji this time.
It's not who I'm looking at.
Rough, huh?
Because understand, in the time I've been away, I have been doing the homework for this one. So sometimes you get roped into a situation that's complicated. You can't explain it to the people at home, and you cannot explain to this person who has your child that, you know what,
I can't
right now we cannot accept this child. Yes, and maybe that's there is no easy outcome out of it. Everyone who's sitting out there who's not in this situation, it's easy for them to pontificate and say, you know what, you should have kept it in your pants. You know what, this is the right thing to do. But those people, they're not in this situation. I think that people like me and Peter who are in this situation need to find a way.
Peter needs to explain himself.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
To stick together and work through these things.
And fight the enemy.
I don't know if they're the enemy. The most enemy is society.
I'll tell you what, and I'll get back to you, Banji. As a social scientist, actually as our resident social scientist,
and the person who's intimately familiar.
No, I didn't say that. Of course, I'd like to start at the beginning. And Colin literally grabbed the baby and threw it out with the bathwater. where does this start from? Is there really any man who goes out there and says, you know what, I'm going to have a baby with this woman? Or is it just, Colin talked about saying that when don't you know when to pull out an unprotected sex? When a man gets into a relationship, of course there's protection, all right? And it's closely related to what we talked about last week about cheating. Yes, there's protection, you take care. Then, I mean, here you are, somebody calls you up and says, hey, what are you doing over lunch? Let's meet for lunch. So you meet for lunch. You go for pilau. Okay. And then when you go...
using this analogy, too short. Pilau.
So, then you did not have a chance to pass by the pharmacy or the supermarket or your local shop. You get there because you were going to eat pilau, and then things happen. And then one thing happens, then before you know it, it becomes the norm. Then she tells you, oh, you know what, I'm late. Now, that comes. So it wasn't part of the plan. Is it still the man's fault?
Okay, first, you have anointed me a very powerful title.
Yeah.
A resident
That's a
social
very nice
scientist.
jacket.
Yes, with the feminist touch.
Feminist, feminine.
Whatever you call it. Now,
The one is undesirable.
someone sent on my Facebook that, why are you being called a social scientist? What is this social scientist? So I want to address that person first. That a social scientist is that person who specializes in the interconnectedness in society, the way people socialize, the way people live, and how they behave as they interact with each other, you know. You can see how Colin has had an impact. He's bringing the best out of you. So this is social science. Now,
Maybe that's your love child.
now, Igaga, you are asking, is it a man's fault to have a love child, to have a child out of marriage? The problem we have, most of us, when we look at this, we use, when we go to English, we use illegitimate child. And I am always at war with that concept. That concept is not African. That concept is not Ugandan. In the African of Uganda is when a man has a child, irrespective of whether he's married or not, that is his child. Becomes the son of Igaga, isn't it? So don't say that your child is legitimate. That is the beginning point. Because you are labeling this child. So is it a man's fault? Well, if you are not in the equation, you will blame the man, as Colin said. You will say, you man, first of all, you knew you were married, then you moved out, then whatever. Last week we talked about opportunities and men being preyed on, being hunted by the women. And some of these women hunting men, especially men with a responsibility, men with a check, men with a wallet, they come with a reason. They come to entrap you, to snare you, you know. So, even if you come with a calculator and you calculate last month it was this month it is this, you know that equation, eh? They will say, yes, there's freedom now. You can punch like Golola. So you punch, boo, 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 boo. After a month of punching, a text message, chuk, I am late. So sometimes the man is just being trapped in the what?
I don't know. So
in the
finish.
equation.
I have some thoughts on this.
But also there are situations where deliberately the man seeks out this child, seeks to find this child.
Or the woman.
From a woman. He's married. He seeks to get
For a son or something.
Yes, because we have seen men who have daughters only saying they want a son. Those who have sons only saying they want a daughter. So this guy, he has kids, they go to school, they are the last. He's like, I think these kids are as stupid as
their mother.
You know how people say, as stupid as their
And
mother.
he quickly forgets how his school report used to look like.
But you know, genetically he's correct, huh?
Yes,
Because the intelligence genes
then he
actually
starts-
come
yes,
from the
That
female
is true.
side. Yeah.
That is true.
So then he starts looking around for an intelligent child, for a tall child, for a short child, for a big child, all these kind of things.
You're right.
So it's from our perspective, it is still an idea that we are
Trying
still
to
studying.
grapple with, yeah.
We are still studying it with keen interest. and it is here to stay, by the way.
It's not about to change. Yes.
It's not about to end.
So are you then saying we need to find a way to handle it? Because
No,
this
but
is...
also, yeah,
just a minute.
after you.
Because sometimes some of the things, let me tell you one thing. Society has, it's like if you poured water on this table, you don't know which side is lower. But if you poured this juice, this water will find where to go. Society has a way of finding an equilibrium. Just let the children
Yes.
be there.
But you see, there's already a word now for these things. They're called blended families, where you come with your children, I come with my children, the children mix, they grow up together. And that's not the same as
Exactly,
what
and
you're talking
that
about.
is easier. That's much easier.
Yeah,
Yes.
but so think about it like this. So the show is called NTV Men.
Yeah.
The whole idea of this show is talk about why men go out and have illegitimate children. But so let me ask you, there is someone out there. This person, they take your time, they take your feelings, they take your money, eventually they steal your sperm without your consent because you've agreed we're not getting pregnant. They steal your sperm, boom, they're pregnant. But every time we talk about responsibility, it falls on the man. Obviously, we want to end patriarchy, we want to say men, we want equal rights, but whenever these things happen, the woman never takes responsibility for these things. It's always...
And it's partly patriarchal thinking. Your
Yes.
man thinking makes you think that it's because we tag women as the weaker sex. It's never their fault.
It's never their fault.
It's always your fault.
And because society then presents that face, then constantly it's the guys on the back foot. It's always the guys who are trying to solve these situations.
Yeah,
but if they are not, if we know the truth, these situations are not going to go away. The real question then becomes, what do we do next?
All right, I'll tell you what. I know you're itching to say something, but we do need to get into a break. But one thing I need you to...
This is my first show.
I know.
We were supposed to shoot this show without a break.
We're going to do the next
There are
one
no
without
ads
a
in
break.
this show, Peter.
Then we
I've
can't
just
get
come back.
paid. Breathe in, breathe out, relax. But I want you to answer something. I mean, in all honesty, one of the very likely outcomes of unprotected sex is a child. So as a man, can you
Likely
sit
and
back-
likely.
Likely. So can you, as a man, can you sit back and say, it's not my fault, it's the woman's fault? We'll be right back with you as soon as we get back from the break. Tonight we are talking about the sticky subject of illegitimate children or love babies. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back from the break. As Peter's mouth is still full, we went into the break thinking about this situation and, the topic about love children and love babies. But in the first segment, what we noticed is that Stefan didn't have a chance to say a lot of things. We don't know whether that was
love babies.
because he was guilty, or as Peter likes to say, as he throws people under the bus, it's his turn to explain. Let's get into the show. Stefan.
Peter, you asked me a question. You asked me whether...
Very simple question. One of the very likely outcomes of unprotected sex is a child. So then how can we say that it's only the men who take the blame? Because really, if you didn't want the child, then just don't have unprotected sex.
It's actually very weird that we blame men for this, and I think, and as I was explaining this off air, it's because of our patriarchal conditioning. Everything falls on us. It's a man's world. A woman is never at fault. It's your fault. You're the man. That's the reason that kid is there. But let me try and be on the other side and blame and apportion the blame to women. And I'll give you scenarios. And anyone who's
Be very careful.
I'll give you scenarios because, when you're having live sex, unprotected sex, you will ask this woman to go and swallow those things. They're called P2s. Pills, yeah.
Yes.
Pills. And this woman will go and maybe forget to swallow some of
Maybe
this.
since all of us are married on this show, it's more worrying how Peter knows.
How Peter knows this.
knows these things.
Okay. No, me, of course.
You don't know.
I know, because we have a bad
but
boy,
again,
you
you
know,
see-
Let me finish.
Yes.
Yeah, this lady will go and you will think that she has taken the P2s, eh? And you know, you are safe at your place, you think that, you know, you have no problems. Then she will call you.
Next weekend, you're out there harvesting cassava.
After so many years and tells you that, you know what? I actually got pregnant and I have a child. And in this point in your life, maybe you're married. And, or maybe, you know, and I said in my previous show that, you know, cheating, when you're still searching for someone, don't regard it as cheating because you're hunting. You're looking for a partner. So you will hunt. And some of these things happen. And you know, I remember there was a time before I got my first child. I remember.
You have more than one.
You see how
The first known child.
Listen.
Before I got my first child,
I picked it up also.
Let me say this.
homie,
Before I had,
there will only be truth on this show.
before I had a child, I remember there was a friend of mine, Robert, told me, Stefan, Jalu, if you have never had a scare in your life, never had a scare, from when you were in campus, you've been sleeping around, there's no one has come to you and told you that, hey, Jama, I'm pregnant. You need to see a doctor. No, you understand? So, you know, yeah, these things happen. The reality is that love children will happen. If you're sleeping around.
I think,
But again, before
I
you
want to
come
step
in,
back a bit.
you also asked a question, and I found it funny. You said if you have unprotected sex,
One of the likely
is a child. But do you know that in about 90% or even 95% of marriages, sex between married people, they don't plan and say, today let us attack and have a child. They are just actually enjoying. A child is a consequence of some assault.
my point exactly.
Now,
So you know.
so
gonna happen.
the whole point is like this.
If
If you step in a swimming pool, you expect to be wet. If the swimming pool has water, isn't it? Because the swimming pool must have water. So once you
Those are
step
the
there,
facts.
you expect to be wet, isn't it? So it means that as a man, every time you pull out your weapon and you cause sporadic firing everywhere,
Some people don't
you are
cause
leaving
havoc.
seed, isn't it? You are leaving seed. So if you leave this seed and this seed germinates and grows, and they give you a call that, my friend, this is the seed.
No, but I wanna step back on this. And I hear what Banji is saying, and it makes sense. But I feel like sometimes we make this very academic, very Kampalan.
Yeah.
If you go into the reality of the idea of illegitimate children,
Reality.
in reality, and you step back away from the idea of legitimizing children comes from religion. Children that are born inside wedlock. The idea of wedlock is inside the framework of marriage. But a lot of people aren't legal, they aren't religiously married. A lot of people cohabit.
Yeah.
But I can tell you how legitimate those children are. You can call them legitimate, but my friend, when you go to court, that child support is not illegitimate. It's very real.
Yeah.
Homie, it's out of your pocket. It's
But
coming
does
out
the
of
government recognize this?
Yes, because the government recognizes you as the biological parent of this child and as a person who owes this child support for clothing, for medical, for school fees, for their upbringing.
You have just informed the women out there.
No, but
I know.
so we're informing the women, we're also informing the men. So if you're out there and this guy says, I don't recognize that child is not in my marriage, you can take them to court, you can get a gang of money.
Yeah.
But what it also does is also brings awareness around this situation.
Yeah.
Because, for example, and this, so for me, this happened because my firstborn was born outside my marriage. And I was talking to my lawyer because I was putting together my will. Because now, you know, you get in the middle of your life, you start living dangerously, you start doing risky things, you're bungee jumping, you're skydiving, that shit could get you killed. So you start writing the will.
Yeah.
And this is what the lawyer told me. So if you don't leave a will, and this is how you guys say illegitimate, I'm telling you, these children are real. If you don't leave a will and you die, whatever amount of NSSF is in your savings, is in your NSSF account, the court will take that money. So imagine you had a frictious falling out with this woman. you had a child or you parted ways.
Diamond.
You don't write the will. They will take all your assets. The state will take your assets. Take 85% of that, divide it amongst all people who can prove they are biologically your children. Take the other 15%, and irrespective of how evil or vile or nefarious this woman is, they will get 15% share of the rest of your estate. Which is why it's important to have this discussion, because the discussion is about the children.
Have you noticed the way people have gone quiet?
Because these are the facts.
But my question is this. My question is this.
Hold on.
So irrespective of how evil this woman was to you, she will get a share of your estate. So the thing to do, I don't know who's listening, homie. I'm just talking to you, and I'm talking to you guys. Whoever is responsible for this, take the time, take stock, write these children down. Fine. And we used to talk about this. If Chris were here, he would tell you that these old men of those days, they had brothers or they had friends who knew all their children.
And that's my question.
So at the point of departure,
that's my question.
I'm just closing. At the point of departure, all the children were accounted for. So for example, if you really hate this woman, you don't have to write her in your will. You can make sure the children get what you want them to get, but she doesn't have to be in your will. If you don't do the will, if you pretend it's a problem that's not there, nigga, the state will ensure that it's a problem for your estate.
No, you see, Colin, you actually preempted what I wanted to the direction I wanted to go.
Peter, you already went this direction.
Listen, of course, pay attention. Can we say that usually that children are being used as pawns? So this lady by women to secure their future, because here I am as a woman, I see that we talked about in the other show, Banji, you said men are being hunted. So this young lady looks and says, all right, I'm not really in a very secure space, but if I link up with this guy, I can do that. So I will deliberately make sure I get his child, using that she'll tell you that I've swallowed my pills, yet she hasn't. She gets the baby, and then I'm set.
What do you mean? There are people who take sperms out of condoms.
My point exactly.
But you
so
see,
it's all about financial and not about the children.
Igaga, the other day, I think like last month or the other month, we discussed the issue of polygamy. I told you that marriage is an economic exchange. Some people look at marriage as an economic exchange. And in fact, if you look in the traditional Africa, the man who had more fertile land attracted more women. Yes. The man who was staying alongside the desert had few. You see, because the woman knew that if this man sired children with me, they will not starve. So today, before the woman opens for you the gates of paradise, she has calculated that if this bald-headed guy caused an effect, caused me to be pregnant, he's likely to look after these kids. So this is the argument. Now, first of all, when we talk about love children, when the court comes.
But why do you refer to them as love children?
No. That is Peter's argument.
It might be just coitus. It was coitus child.
Children, they are your children. Now, when the court comes, they are going to evaluate your wealth, okay, vis-a-vis the standard that the child has to live, and you have to give a percentage. And by the way, that's why you need to even declare to court that, my friend, you are counting this one, I have 30, so that they divide your income properly. If you don't declare the others, and that's what Colin said, if assuming you're married with woman A officially, then you have with her 2 children, another woman brings 2, and you keep quiet, they will divide your wealth to the 4.
You guys don't know. You see guys like Peter keeping it safe in the Middle Ages.
My question is this, Peter.
Just let me finish.
Let me finish. But if you went to court, if the court comes and you say, judge, this is not the number. Actually, I have 8. That's why I'm giving this woman 100,000. The judge will say, can you prove that even the other 8 are yours? And then he will understand. But the whole idea of children is when you, the father, you start saying, I have illegitimate children, you are discriminating your children. And I think this is what should get out of the vocabulary of men. Do not discriminate your children. They are your children. How you handle it might be your private affair, but do not discriminate.
He referred to, he addressed the men. Don't refer to them as illegitimate. But my question is, and I wanted to ask it when he was giving his opinion, do you declare these children to your wife? Who do you declare the kids to? You know, I remember I had this conversation with my dad at one point. He called me aside and he told me, I think he noticed that that this guy was not bringing forth children. Told me that, you know what? The people that should know is your brother. You can tell us that, you know, there is a kid here, there's a kid here. Do you tell your wife that I have a kid here, I have a kid somewhere in Rwanda, I have a kid somewhere in Kenya?
So,
I'll tell you what, you will answer that as soon as we get back from the break.
What do you
we are here.
Are you going to tell us where you are
in talking about children, because clearly we are not allowed to call them illegitimate children. I think the women will call them illegitimate children, but when we get back, we'll want to find out the key question. Do you or do you not declare? We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. We are here at the Hilton Garden Inn.
You know how Peter's intros are so boring. Welcome back from the break. And we're still here at the garden. Listen, we're having a really exciting evening here at the Garden Hill Hotel.
No, it's Hilton Garden Inn.
Thank you. You see, all you can do is say the sponsor's name, but let me tell you what the fire is tonight. We're talking about love children, and the heat is here. Peter's head is sweaty. The fire has come. Tonight, we are taking confessions. Peter, tell us where we, tell our viewers where we are and what we're doing.
Now, we are here at the Hilton Garden Inn talking about children. Well, I call them love children. I mean, what's the problem with that?
That's fine.
And no, my head is always bright. I have bright ideas. That's why it is shining. Okay. So, but to answer your question, I think I'll start from there. This thing called the truth will follow you everywhere you go. So the sooner you declare it, the sooner you deal with it, the better. And that's what I have for men outside there. If you've got, a love child, all right? Declare it. A woman who's going to leave you will leave you. A woman who's going to stay will stay, regardless of the circumstances.
I don't know. I agree with the outcome. I don't agree with the reason.
So you keep quiet until you die.
No,
like the Kenyan politician.
No.
Things are coming up, and you're like, I'm not going to be there anyway.
People decided to soil that guy's name after he was dead. That's fine. But my point is, declare the children, not for your sake, not because your wife will leave or because you'll get ashamed. So let me tell you, the reality of manhood in this world is that it's a difficult existence. Don't let people sit here in these nice hotels, in this plush environment. Don't let this stuff lie to you. Life is hard. It's hard every day. It's hard on decisions. It's hard. Some of the thing that we don't manage to unpack on this show is some of these decisions are hard to get into. So you must go back to the beginning. So what led to that situation? How could someone go out there and cheat so much that they had the child and then not talk about it for 10 years? You have to understand there's a whole mental process that goes into that. But anyway, what I wanted to come around to is that life is hard. And because as men, as leaders, as providers, we bear largely, even though our societies are transitioning into, equal societies, largely today, men still bear the brunt of these decisions financially, even societally. They will never say, those were Nagundis, what. They'll always be, Igaga's children or love children. That's what they'll be.
Okay.
But thinking about that, I think that, which is why I'm agreeing with Peter, you declare, but the reason why is not this reason. Screw the world. Screw what people think. Do it for the children. Because when you are gone, and you've done the right thing by them. You named them, so you've given them a name. You've worked a good, diligent life, so you've left them something. You haven't left them homeless. You've not let them wander in this world.
But do you declare when you're almost like...
You, homie, listen, you do it for them. So if for you, for example, what is important for you? So certain people have different values. Certain people will say, my children must go to a good school. They must be well taken care of. That means what? Resources. So you put what you think is important for them in place for them. If you're the kind of person who says, my children, I have to be involved in their lives, I have to make sure they grow up well, and that means I have to spend time with them,
Colin,
then you declare that so that you're able to spend that time.
Can I pause you right there? Now, what you are saying is actually very textbook, and I'll tell you why. You are forgetting, you're speaking as from a man's point of view.
Yes.
You're forgetting that there's this person called your wife.
Okay.
Whose influence you cannot underplay. So here you are, this child has been brought, okay, your salary remains the same. For argument's sake, you're earning $1 million shillings,
Yes.
okay? Now, you have been spending, you've got 2 children who are going to a school that they pay 250,000 shillings.
Yes.
Okay, so 500K is going to them, all right?
Yes.
Now, somebody else has jumped on the bandwagon. You're saying, yeah, they must all go to the same school. So it will mean, ideally, these other 2 will have to step down to accommodate this one.
No. So the reality is this, which is I was just saying here earlier that being a man is about difficult decisions. You must either take the hit on your pride and bring the other 2 children down, but your wife will never allow.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you a very personal example.
If she doesn't allow, then you must find the money to take this child to the same standard.
It's not that simple. So what I'm saying is,
It is simple.
You've got 2
Listen,
women.
you know, you're saying it is very simple.
That you are married and you have 3 children.
Yes.
You wander with your 3rd leg in this Republic of Uganda. You get another 4 children. They are 7, isn't it? You are earning $1 million. You divide it equally among the 7 children.
That is fine.
Wait, remember, the decision of the resources which you earn, you as Igaga, you can influence that decision. And you have to sell it to the madam. Because, let me tell you one thing. If Igaga, if you leave these kids disadvantaged compared to the ones you are staying with at home, you are leaving the ones at home.
You're missing the point. What I'm
Let me
saying is,
let me give you a very personal example.
First.
Let me
He's
clarify.
trying to make a point
What I'm
that
trying to say
women
is,
will never allow you to give more money to the
that's what
children
I'm saying.
outside.
As a man, that can be your plan. But also, I need you to get into the mind of this woman. It is not her fault that you went and got those children. Fact. Now you have brought these kids in. You want to take her downwards to accommodate the others. Is that fair?
There's nothing to do with fairness when it comes. Let me try and explain
So she
this.
should just swallow.
No, listen. Let me. This is
No,
Africa.
she can live and take care of the children.
This is.
It's really not that complicated. Peter, let me tell you.
Wait,
we
let
are
him
tired-
finish.
we are
He's
tired of
finishing.
this fuckery. It just has to stop.
Just-
Listen. There's $1 million shillings. There's 3 children who have to go to school. So either we figure out how to double up the money so everyone can go to the same school, or all the children go down.
It is your mess.
Yes.
It is not a mess.
Yes.
Listen.
So she has to make a choice whether she wants to do this mess
Or
with me or
not.
she wants to do it by herself. If she leaves and she takes the children with her, she will get the portion of the 1 million that is equally divided for everyone.
Okay, let me boil it down for you. This is Africa, and this is one of the problems I have with men today. You are dwindling down to women's whims. Let me give you an example of my dad. When our stepbrother was introduced to us, I remember I was a very young kid. He was brought to the house, came with the sisters. I thought there was something happening in the house. It was very interesting. He came to my room. They were having this discussion. The boy was introduced to me that time. And I remember my mom coming to the room and opening the door and telling this kid to get out of the house. But you know what? My whole argument comes down to succession planning. As an older man, we know that the kid will be involved. He's involved. Now, when my dad, unfortunately, if something is to happen to him, we will know that he's in the picture. Now, what happens today is that most men, like you, will hide this factor, will hide this situation, and then something happens to you, and we hear there's another kid, there's another boy.
You see, for people like Peter they live their lives with all of it as black as this coffee I'm
you
drinking.
see, I'm being very realistic. You guys are sitting here
No,
and saying,
no,
you just
we're
being
the ones who are being realistic.
No.
And tell your wife,
She will deal with
just
it.
hold on. You're going to tell your wife, look, these are my kids. If you don't like it, go.
No.
I will tell you what. Do you know why you are not being honest? You are with that woman because you need to be with her. If that was the case, you would have gone with the other one with her kids.
Now,
So you cannot say that she is not a factor. That she has to swallow it.
Present wife. You are present wife.
Present means how many are there?
Because let me tell you one thing. Wait.
Me, I'm not in this show.
Colin, if you're married, mathematically, I'm not a mathematician, but I have heard from the statisticians, if you're married, you have the likelihood of facing a divorce. If you are single, you can't think of divorce. It's a journey. You first get married, then divorce, you think of divorce. You can't think of divorce when you are single. So let us pause there now. So if you are currently married, you are married, and then you have other children from other women, your wife is a very key factor in this. And you are not going to come with a take it or leave it.
Yeah.
No,
that's what you're saying.
No. You have to come and present that I have created a problem. This is the problem I've created.
You come with
I was
the
planning.
It's your problem.
Yes. But you
it will always be a problem.
You guys, I want to tell you about something. In some cases, some of these things are very, very painful, Peter. Yeah. There are people who stand there, as Banji is saying, I've created a problem. And someone tells you, okay, from this day forward, I want to see where all your money goes. Mm-hmm. There are other people who are in situations where they are told you can never see these children. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes? So you have a child. The child has your name. You have never seen the child. The child is 5 years old. Yeah?
Yeah.
So there are situations like this. But men take that kind of punishment because of what you're saying. They stay because they need to be with this situation, because this is who they married, because this is who they're respected for, because they don't want her to be talked about as a person who can't keep a man. But when you go back to the reality of it is, this is good, but it is 30 years at most. That child has another 70 years on you. It is short-sighted to flow a 70-year decision for. And I mean, your life will be great and you'll be happy.
Okay.
But it is short-sighted.
We do need to wrap up.
No.
It's unfortunate. What time flies when you're having
how
fun?
many times do I come here, yeah? Peter?
Don't worry. You're going to be, next week we'll have you here. And I think we're going to have to have this discussion.
Peter, you disgust me.
Don't worry.
First of all, you don't tell the truth. You've not even declared your love children.
You're parting shots.
I'm going to report you to the producer. Some nonsense out here.
I don't know what I should say about
Peter is panicking.
love.
Listen. First, wait. Let's just frame this in context. So, what have we said today? Let's just close it. So everyone knows exactly where we are. One, you are for the idea of negotiation.
Yes.
Yes. Stefan, myself, are for the idea of disclosure, but on your own terms. Banji thinks and agrees that the family is a unit, and therefore the decision should be made in consideration of the children and for the future of everyone. Yes?
Yeah.
We have agreed on that. We've also talked about that the context of it is brought about by religion, but actually the courts don't consider children as illegitimate, and they'll actually force you to pay. Your family, your father will always force you to pay these things. Yeah. So we agree on that. Mm-hmm. So what we are closing now is opinions.
Yes.
Okay. Stefan, go.
Actually, he has concluded my opinion. My opinion is what I've been saying throughout the show. We have been doing things. When you do something in a constant and it's not working out, you need to change it. Like you're doing something and it's not working out, you really need to change it. For the longest time, men, we hide kids, and this has been brought about by religion. We hide kids from.
I think you hide it from your wife, not
from our wives, and then
these
kids, usually, appear like in our deathbeds and whatnot, like the recent story in a neighboring country. I think we need to change this narrative. There's nothing wrong, and actually, I think women will be more receptive if you know we came out clean, tell her. Don't tell her in.
Take it or leave it away.
No, don't tell it. You know, don't tell it like that. There's a way you can tell her. You know, I have a kid. It happened. I love you. But I have a child. If something is to happen, know that there's a kid in this country. I have a kid somewhere. I've been saying that. I've been saying different countries, but you know, like, yeah, you might be having a kid with a neighbor, but tell her.
Oh, okay.
They need to know.
Fine.
They
But
need to know.
your party shots.
I think that the origin of society is the family. And the family is comprised of individuals, parents and children. And therefore, for the success of society, the family must be known that this is so and so's family. So here is the whole thing. You can't have a child and you say you are hiding the child. First of all, this is a 70, 80-year, 90-year project. How do you hide a 90-year project? You are 45, you have a kid. For even if you have 50 years, you die at 95. The kid is still having another 50 years to live. Either way, your wife or your children will know. So here is the thing. If, my grandmother normally says, if you light fire using raw firewood, expect smoke. And the smoke will cause tears. It is part of the firewood that you brought in the cooking place. So if you have these children, declare them. And please let them be part of your overall future project. They may be in the same house with you, they may not be in the same house with you, but they become part of the family. You move forward knowing that there are 3 children here, there are 4 children here, there are 5 children here, but this is where we are going.
Yeah.
For me, that's my argument.
Yeah.
For me, and this is very important for me for 2 reasons. When you consider that in the history of all of mankind, of all people who ever lived, 60% of all men who ever lived did not reproduce. You know why? Because they were busy being warriors and soldiers and blacksmiths. They lived professional careers their whole lives. They were medicine men. They never gave birth. They lived and died. Pay, gone. Nothing to remember them. No lineage, nothing. When you think about that fact, and you think about this idea of every man having one wife and reproducing is very new. It's under 200, 300 years old. For a lot of men, they just died. You read about these entire societies that were wiped out because of this thing you're talking about. So, when I think about that, I think, listen, children are a blessing. And I'm so sad that we didn't say that. You know, I felt like we all know that, but we didn't say it enough. Children are a blessing. Children should be celebrated. And blessings don't bring sorrow. They may bring difficulty now as you're trying to figure out how to take them to school. But if you are diligent and you are honest, no matter how tight resources are, and the truth is nowadays, people want to take their children to nice schools and buy everyone an iPad and send everyone to American international schools, that's fine. But within your means and what God has given you, or whatever, or whoever you believe in, Allah, or you know, the witchcraft, Mama Fina, that's fine. You do what you can with what you have. Yeah. But the reality is this. Face what you have. Because in choosing to not decide, even in that, you have decided, and the government, life, history will decide for you. You know, like, it's so great to live a nice life where you have a good legacy. It's your job. You take control of your destiny. You take control of your lineage. Yeah. You say, these are my children. I've provided for them. I've named them. And they have my genes, and this is what we're going to do. Because that's what men do. That's what NTV Men is about.
All right, great stuff. Now, you've heard it from the team here, and you've heard it from the men here at NTV Men about love children. Mine is very simple. I think it's a negotiation. You can't just bring your children and force them down your wife's throat because you are one.
Of course.
You married her. Your choice. So that's it from us here at the Hilton Garden Inn. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves. And they are your children.